Welcome to Teaching Truth. Rumbling Bridge, located in the heart of the beautiful Clackmannanshire countryside, was for a number of years the Scottish venue for Soul Survivor, a Christian youth festival which attracted hundreds of young people from north of the border. Aside from the opportunity to try your hand at a range of exciting activities such as go-karting or, for the more adventurous, the high ropes course, you could sip a latte in Cafe Uno or enjoy a crepe from the creperie. But the highlight of each day at Soul Survivor was the evening celebrations. Evening celebrations which consisted of worship, teaching, and creating space for the Holy Spirit to move and to work. With my own eyes, on not a small number of occasions, I saw the Holy Spirit doing what only the Holy Spirit can do. I saw young people giving their hearts and their lives to Jesus Christ. I saw young people being ministered to and being prayed for and being released from things which had been holding them back. I saw the Holy Spirit at work. There was that incredible sense of, look, God did it. The late Reverend Jim Graham, in his excellent book, A Past with a Future, wrote these words. This is normal New Testament Christianity. We have lived with abnormal Christianity for such a long time that we call what we have lived with normal, and so when we begin to touch God's normal, we are prone to call it abnormal. We live in a world that is impressed by the spectacular and the sensational. A man who can bend spoons without touching them amazes us. And a man who can leap over many London double-decker buses on a motorbike excites our interest. But a man who can change and transform human lives and make them whole is despised and dismissed. But Jesus Christ is in that business and continues to exercise his power and his authority through his body on earth, the church. Although we have reneged largely on our original calling under God, he is calling us again, not so much to the spectacular and to the sensational, but to spiritual life and reality, which transforms lives and makes men whole. It is to a word declared, but also to a word demonstrated that God calls us to. Look, God did it. And that title could well be given to the book of Acts. Look, God did it. The book of Acts is not a book about the apostles or their work, but it is a book about Jesus, about what Jesus did working through the apostles and the church in the person of his Holy Spirit. Acts is the story of God's grace spilling out and flooding out to the world. Nothing is more prominent in the book of Acts than the spread of the gospel. Acts is filled with drama, miracles, and speeches about the risen Christ. And so under the theme of naturally supernatural, as we discover the things that God did through the early church over the next 12 weeks in our reflections, we're going to journey together through the book of Acts, a hugely exciting, challenging, and yet relevant book for us today. A number of people date Acts as being written around AD 62 and covering round about 33 years of history. Jesus Christ himself lived on the earth for 33 years, and in Acts we have an example of what can be effectively accomplished through one generation of believers. Acts is the second book, we believe, that was written by Luke to a man named Theophilus. So why should we unpack, why should we study the book of Acts? Well, it's the record, first of all, of actual history. It tells the story of the birth and the development of the early church, and then how the Holy Spirit moved in the lives of ordinary people, talking about the building and the growth of the church. It's also full of instruction for us as Christians on how to worship, to walk, and to witness with and for Jesus Christ. We should also dig into the book of Acts because it contains many biographies. We could pluck out the stories, and we will over the coming weeks, of individuals through whom God moved and whom God saved and blessed and used. Stephen, Dorcas, Lydia, Apollos, and many, many others. The book of Acts also has a strong missional emphasis. It highlights for us how the early church began to grow and how the seed that was planted began to take root. It also describes many notable conversions, how people became Christians. The conversions at Pentecost of Saul of Tarsus, of Cornelius, of the jailer, and many, many others. And also it's of great spiritual value to us. Read of the men and women in Acts who turned the world upside down. And someone once said that if we are open to the Holy Spirit, we will be turned upside down ourselves. And so as we journey together under the theme of naturally supernatural to discover what the Holy Spirit did in the lives of ordinary people through the book of Acts, it's my prayer that God will enable all of us to have that openness to the work and to the person and to the power of the Holy Spirit, that what we would see in our lives and in our generation is God at work, so that we too can say, look, God did it.